Hello and welcome to iskipper.net. We're going to look at point of sail in lesson 7 of your compass and crew. So our point of sail, first of all we've got the wind blowing down the board, represented by this arrow, and then what we're going to look at are the different angles that we can sail a boat or where we can't sail a boat in relation to the wind. Our first point of sail we're going to look at is what we call a beam breach, and then we've got the boat sailing across at 90 degrees to the wind. So we've got the wind hitting the boat or the beam of the boat, so the beam of the boat at 90 degrees. What we need to do with our sails is we've got our mast. Then we've got our sails. Our main sail is roughly halfway out. All the way in would be across here. All the way out would be across here. And so somewhere halfway would be roughly here. And the same with our genoa or our jib. It's going to be roughly halfway out there. And that's what we call a beam breach. So that's our beam reach. We're going across that way, and that would be on a port tack beam reach, and a starboard tack beam reach will be going this way. And quite often that's the first point of sail you'll start off on your compass and crew course. Our next point of sail, it'll be a bit closer to the wind. Well, just before I mention that, I'll just tell you where you can't sail your boat. And that's in an area called the no-go zone, and roughly 45 degrees either side of the wind is you can't sail in that area. So somewhere roughly there is what we call the no-go zone. And what happens if you point your boat into this area? Your sails will flap, you'll slow down, and eventually you'll start to drift backwards with the wind. So you can't sail in this direction. We have got a problem though. If we want to get from point A to point B, obviously if we point our boat up from A to B, that's in our no-go zone, which isn't going to help us get to there. But what we can do, we can sail off at an angle roughly over here or over here, and we can make a zigzag course upwind. So we can sail off there, pop a turn in, sail off at that angle, pop another turn in, and we can get to our upwind goal point. And this is actually what we call tacking. Zigzagging upwind is what we call tacking. So back to our point of sail. The point of sail we're going to, this point of sail up here is what we call a close hauled. So our boat will be something like that. We've got our mast, and this time we'll have our sails nice and tight. So main sail fairly close to the centre of the boat, and our genoa nice and tight as well. And what's happening on both of these boats is the wind's hitting the sail, shooting off the back, and that resistance against the keel that's in the water pushes our boat forward, like kind of squeezing a piece of soap from a wet piece of soap. You push it up from both ends and it shoots out forwards. So it's the same sort of principle. This time on our close haul though, is our wind is hitting towards the bow of the boat. Before on the beam reach it was the beam of the boat, this time it's on the bow. So that's our close hauled. We have some more points of sail for getting further downwind. So the next one down from the beam reach is what we call a broad reach. So I'll just lift up the board there. This time mast is there, sails roughly 3/4 of the way out, and we're sailing slightly away from the wind, and the wind's hitting the back corner of the boat. So we'll be sailing down on a broad reach. And quite often on yachts, somewhere between a broad reach and a beam reach can be our fastest point to sail. Then we've got to sail right away from the wind. We've got what we call a run. So our boat's there. This time the wind's hitting right on the stern of the boat, wind right up the chuff. And this time our sail could be either side, because it doesn't really matter. So our mainsail will be right out as far as it can go. And quite often we do a thing called goose winging, where we'd have the genoa set on the other side, just catching as much wind as possible. I think the Spanish call it the donkey's ears. So that'd be on a run. So that's our run. We've got a broad reach. We've got a beam reach across the wind. And then we've got our close hauled. And I probably haven't drawn this particularly well, but what happened, excluding the run really, but if I've drawn it correctly, the angle of the sails for each of these 3 points of sails should be the same, and it's only the boat that's actually turning underneath the sails. Okay? So thanks for that, and what you need to do now is kind of learn that, get that fairly clear in your minds, and then get out on the water and try and apply those kind of principles to your sailing. Thank you, and see you at the next lesson.